So the MLB season for 2018 is officially over. The Boston Red Sox are the World Series champions, and now we just gotta kind of wait until spring training. Yeah, we got the winter meetings and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, we're not gonna see any baseball until about late February, early March, so kind of a dry period. But we do have the award season coming up for the 2018 MLB season, and we got a bunch of the finalists revealed earlier this week. They revealed the finalists for 4 different categories: the American League and National League Manager of the Year, the American League and National League Rookie of the Year, the American League and National League Cy Young, and the AL and NL MVP awards. So technically 8 categories, but 4 just branched into 2 leagues. So what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna make a video going over all the different categories and kind of giving you guys who I think should win each award. Now, I'm not gonna do Manager of the Year. I'm just gonna focus on the player awards. So Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, and MVP. I'm gonna have one video dedicated to each of the topics. Today we are gonna be talking about the National League Rookie of the Year award. Tomorrow will be the American League Rookie of the Year award. So everything I say in this video, other than the actual statistics of the players, this is gonna be my own opinion. This is who I feel like will win. This is why I think they'll win. I'm gonna give my reasoning behind it. I would very much like to hear what you guys have to say down in the comments of this video. Let me know if you disagree with my choice. Let me know if you agree with it. Just give me your input down there. We can have a little discussion about the Rookie of the Year voting. So the National League Rookie of the Year voting came down to 3 different players. The 3 finalists are going to be Ronald Acuna Jr. from the Atlanta Braves, Juan Soto from the Washington Nationals, and Walker Buehler from the Los Angeles Dodgers. One thing to remember about this, these players in the postseason, Acuna and Buehler, Soto didn't play, but those 2 guys, their postseason stats do not matter. They have no impact on anything that happens for the voting of this award. So sorry, Acuna's grand slam against the Dodgers isn't going to help. Walker Buehler's electric performance against the Red Sox in the World Series isn't going to help. It's all about the regular season. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go over each player's stats individually, and then I'm going to do my best to compare them. Comparing Soto and Acuna is going to be easy. Comparing Buehler is a little bit different because you got to figure out how do you weigh a pitcher versus how do you weigh a hitter, which one do you value more. But we're going to talk about the individual stats first. So let's start it off with Ronald Acuna Jr. This guy was a big name coming into the 2018 season for the Atlanta Braves, one of the most, eyed prospects in the league, and he came up, and honestly, he did not disappoint. This season, he hit .293 with a .366 on-base percentage, a .552 slugging, and a .917 OPS, and a .144 OPS plus. He finished the season with 26 home runs, 26 doubles, 64 RBIs, 127 hits. He also stole 16 bases as well, so he's a bit more speedy than the next guy, Juan Soto. He had a 4.1 WAR on the season as well, so Ronald Acuna Jr. definitely was a difference maker for the Atlanta Braves. He played really well throughout the entire season. Now let's take a look at Juan Soto from the Washington Nationals. Juan Soto, this was his age 19 season, just a true rookie. And man, he was incredible. His average, .292, he had a .406 on-base percentage. That is amazing. He had a .517 slugging with a .923 OPS, an OPS plus of 142. He hit 22 home runs, he drove in 70 runs, he hit 25 doubles, 121 hits on the year. Juan Soto, as a 19-year-old, set a ton of records for like a teenager hitting in the league. He had an incredible rookie season. Now let's take a look at Walker Buehler, the starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. This season, he had an 8-5 record, which I know wins and losses don't matter, but I'm just saying it. A 2.62 ERA in 24 games. That is a very, very strong ERA. 137.1 innings pitched. He had 151 strikeouts to 37 walks. His strikeout per 9 ratio was all the way almost to 10. He had an ERA plus of 148. Overall, Walker Buehler was a staple in the rotation for the Dodgers, and they really needed him when they were going to try to make the postseason at that last month of the season. There was a lot of really important games in that month for the Dodgers, and Walker Buehler was very, very good for them, and he's one of the main reasons they even made the postseason. So now that we've got a look at each player's individual stats, we kind of know what they did this season. The best way to go about doing this, I think, is just comparing them head to head. Now, like I said earlier in the video, it's way easier to compare Soto Soto to Acuna than any of them with Buehler, because Buehler is a pitcher, so it just goes off what you weigh more value on. But let's focus on the two hitters for this part of the video. So let's talk about Ronald Acuna versus Juan Soto in a direct head-to-head comparison of stats. For batting average, Ronald Acuna did win by 1 point. Really not that big of a deal. They were pretty much neck and neck there, but Acuna did have the higher batting average. On base percentage, Juan Soto was a beast, man. 406. He definitely won that category. He got on base over 40% of the time, dude. That's crazy. For slugging, Ronald Acuna Jr. did win that category. He did slug 552. For OPS, Juan Soto did win that one. He had an OPS of 923, but Acuna wasn't too far behind. He was only 6 points off at 917. Acuna had more at-bats. He had about 20 more at-bats than Juan Soto. Acuna had more hits, about 6 more hits. Acuna had 4 more home runs at 26. Soto only had 22. Acuna had 1 more double. Soto had about 4 more RBIs. And as far as stolen bases, this is probably the biggest jump between the two. Acuna had 11 more stolen bases than Juan Soto. So if you look at those numbers head to head, they are pretty much neck and neck. There's a couple different stats where Soto is a little bit better, and there's a couple stats where Acuna is a little bit better, but at the end of the day, their numbers are so close to each other that it's really hard to determine who is actually more deserving of Rookie of the Year. One thing you can look at in Juan Soto's credit is his strikeout to walk ratio was a lot better. He had 79 walks this year with 99 strikeouts, and Ronald Acuna had like 37 walks to like 150 strikeouts or something along those lines. The walk to strikeout ratio for Soto was very, very good. It was much better, but then you can also kind of put that to Acuna's credit because he had a little bit better of the power numbers. He had more home runs. He had a higher slugging, and I know Soto had a little bit of a better OPS, but for most of the slugging stuff, Acuna was a little bit better. So between these two guys off basic hitting stats, it is literally just a teeter-totter. It's like, oh, Acuna has this, but Soto has this. Acuna has this, but don't forget Soto had that. So it's really hard to determine a winner of these two candidates just off offense. So for me, defense is going to be a big factor in determining which of these two guys is more deserving of the Rookie of the Year award. Now, the defensive analytics and these advanced defensive metrics and stats, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys, I really don't understand how a lot of these are calculated. I don't understand, or I just feel like baseball is very situational when it comes to the field. I think you can compare pretty well when it comes to hitting and direct hitter comparisons, but fielding is very, very situational for me. It's really hard to determine. Like, you can do the eye test. Like, I could tell you Andrelton Simmons is one of the best shortstops in the game just by looking at how good he is, but I don't know exactly how numbers are categorized into that. So it's really hard for me to make a strong assessment on defense if I don't really know how the stats are calculated. So I'm just being honest. I could, take a little bit longer and do my research and kind of get a better footing for it, but I don't really want to do that. I'll be honest. The one stat I do kind of understand, though, is WAR. And if you look at the two defensive WARs, Juan Soto was a pretty below average defender this year. He had a defensive WAR of over -1, where Acuna's was just underneath 0. He was at -0.1. So a whole point difference in the defensive WAR could make a difference between the two, between Acuna and Soto as far as that. But like I said, don't fully understand all the defensive metrics. I'm just saying the one stat that I kind of have a little bit of an understanding on does lean towards Acuna. Okay, so now I want to do something. I want to go over and take a look at Walker Buehler's stats. Now, Walker Buehler, we already went over his 2018 season. We talked about how good of a pitcher he was and how much of a lock in the Dodgers rotation he was. But what I want to focus on right here is not the full season. I want to focus on the last month. I want to focus on September. If you guys remember, the Dodgers, they didn't have a playoff spot locked up until after the season was over. They had to play a game 163 against Colorado in order to get that spot. And guess who started that game 163? Oh yeah, Walker Buehler. But I want to take this back to mid-September, going to about September 14th. So September 14th, the Dodgers had a game against the St. Louis Cardinals in St. Louis. Walker Buehler started that game, and he went 8 shutout innings, only allowing 2 hits. He struck out 9, so he was electric on that day. And don't forget, the St. Louis Cardinals at that time were still fighting for a playoff spot with the Cubs and with the Brewers. They were still fighting in that NL Central. So it's not like he played the, you know, it's not like he went to the Nationals, or it's not like he went to the Padres or something. He played a playoff team that was in right in the middle of the race. So that was not an easy start, and to throw 8 shutout innings like that is very impressive for a rookie. So his next start was at home against the Colorado Rockies, and he was honestly even possibly more electric this night. He struck out 12 batters through 6 innings, 2 runs scored, but both of them were unearned, so it didn't matter. It wasn't on him at all. But remember, similar to the St. Louis Cardinals, the Colorado Rockies were the direct competition to the Dodgers in the month of September. They were literally there all the way until game 163. So Walker Buehler had to come out and throw a very, very strong start, and he did that against the direct competition to them right there. That's another big start for a rookie. His next start was against the Arizona Diamondbacks. He did allow 2 runs in that game, but only gave up 4 hits. The Dodgers ultimately lost, but it wasn't because of him. The bullpen gave up the runs later on in the game. So Walker Buehler pitched another strong game on the road in Arizona, another big divisional game in September. And then his next start was game 163, which we know he was incredible. 6.2 innings pitched, only 1 hit, no earned runs. So the last, or 3 out of the last 4 starts for Walker Buehler going into September and going into the postseason were shutouts. He was so strong down the stretch that I think he really deserves a lot of consideration for that. So once again, it's really hard for me to compare Walker Buehler to Acuna to Soto because they're different positions. It's hard to say what you weigh more value on. For me though, I think the voting is gonna come down to Acuna versus Soto. I think Buehler is gonna be in the mix, but I think most people are gonna look at the hitting stats from Acuna and Soto. Not saying Walker Buehler isn't deserving, because he is. I just think that the voting is going to come down to the 2 position players on this one. So with that being said, between Ronald Acuna Jr. and Juan Soto, it's really, really tough for me to choose a winner and for me to choose a more deserving candidate, because all 3 of these guys are deserving. These 2 position players had close to identical seasons in a lot of ways. It's really tough to say who deserves it more. I will lean towards Ronald Acuna Jr. though, just because of that defensive WAR difference. Like I said, defensive stats is a totally different thing. I'm not 100% sure how it's all calculated, but I think with the one stat I know, defensive WAR, I think that Acuna does have a little bit more. Acuna also, even if it was just by a little bit, he did have more home runs, he did have more doubles, he had a higher slugging, he had more hits. Like, you know, it's all very close, but at the end of the day, Acuna did beat him out just by a little bit in a lot of different categories, but there is a total case to be made for Juan Soto. Like, it's so hard to choose this one. I really didn't even like expect it to be this difficult for me, but I am going to go ahead and lean towards Ronald Acuna Jr. winning the National League Rookie of the Year for 2018. Once again though, guys, I would love to hear what you guys have to say down in the comments. I want to know if you guys agree with me, if you think Soto should win, if you think Buehler should win. I want to hear all your guys' thoughts, so make sure to sound off down there. People are texting me right now. Sound off down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let's get a little discussion going. I will have my American League Rookie of the Year voting prediction video out tomorrow. Not sure what time yet. It'll come out when it comes out. So keep an eye on the channel for that. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Drop a thumbs up on this video if you want to see me do the rest of these though. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.